Amongst the archaeological discoveries in southern Apulia, the Zeus of Ugento is of rather exceptional interest. It is a bronze statue of notable artistic quality that stands as an authentic masterpiece of the archaic sculpture of Magna Graecia. The statue, housed in the National Archaeological Museum at Taranto, was found on Christmas Eve 1961 in the historic centre of Ugento, a town in the lower Salento, some 6 kilometres from the harbour of Torre San Giovanni. In antiquity, one of the chief and most extended settlements of the region between the Ionian and Adriatic seas, that the Greeks called Messapia, developed on the same site as modern Ugento. The archaeological area of Ugento, which extends for 145 hectares within imposing Hellenistic fortification walls of almost 5 kilometers in length, occupies both the southern extremity of a serra or limestone ridge, little over 100 meters above sea level, as well as part of the adjoining plain. Archaeological evidence shows that the Messapian settlement witnessed a particularly florid period of occupation between the final decades of the 6th and the beginning of the 5th century BC. The tomb in Via Salentina was constructed during this time. It is a monumental built tomb, characterized by refined painted decoration that was used for successive burials and which has yielded a rich assemblage of figural vases and metal objects. The extraordinary late archaic bronze statue of Zeus that has made Ugento celebrated in the history of archaeology was casually discovered almost half a century ago, not far from the tomb of Via Salentina in the dominant part of the site. Deposited within a cavity in the rock and covered by a capital that originally supported it, the statue had been deliberately hidden, perhaps because of some imminent threat. The sculpture represents Zeus, god of Olympus, absolute judge of cosmic energies and atmospheric phenomena. The nude Zeus advances, brandishing a lightning bolt in his raised right hand and grasping the claws of an eagle, his sacred bird, within the fingers of his left hand. As part of the activity of the LandLab project, a multimedia laboratory for research, formation and communication of archaeological landscapes, the Coordinamento SIBA of the University of Salento, directed by Virginia Valzano in collaboration with the National Research Council of Canada, has effected the 3D acquisition and the virtual representation of the important bronze sculpture. A specific 3D laser scanner for objects in material with a low coefficient of reflectivity and up to 1 cubic meter in volume was used to obtain the high-resolution 3D acquisition and elaboration of this masterpiece of archaic art from Magna Graecia. A mirror of high optical quality, able to reflect the light beams of the laser, was created so as to reproduce the internal details of the hands, which were not directly accessible by the scanner. The statue of Zeus sits on a rectangular base. This was inserted into a socket on the upper side of the Doric capital that was found with the bronze sculpture. The capital, carved out of a single block of local stone, has an abacus decorated on its 4 sides with rosettes in relief. On the upper side of the abacus are holes for the insertion of wooden pegs that served to suspend garlands or votive ribbons. The underside of the abacus is decorated at its angles with rosettes of 8 petals. The architectural member also has an echinus with a collar of 3 rings and part of a fluted column that served to support the capital and the statue. Like all medium and large bronze statues of antiquity, the Zeus of Ugento, some 74 centimeters high, appears to have been made by the lost wax process. The presence of seams in correspondence with the feet, the wrists and the head attachment shows that they were cast separately and later assembled through soldering. The head of the god, which synthesizes plastic sensibility and aesthetic taste, is characterized by a long pointed nose, a pronounced chin, a mustache and beard, rendered through meticulous work with burin and chisel, as well as elongated eyes originally provided with bulbs in bone and ivory and pupils in stone or glass paste. The head is crowned with a double diadem composed of stylized laurel leaves and a rigid metal ribbon with rosettes in relief. 2 rows of spiraled curls adorn the forehead. The hair is dressed in long coiled tresses. Those that drop down to the shoulder are folded over and held together at the end by a ribbon. If the rendering of the details of head and face is analytical and meticulous, the treatment of the body, with the powerful muscular mass of the legs and the accentuated partitions of the abdomen, is essential. Figures and toes are accurately portrayed down to the last detail. The comparison with votive choroplastic also shows that the statue is the work of an artist from Taranto, who, between 530 and 510 BC, elaborated formal indications of Corinthian, Corcyraean, and Laconian artistic currents in an original way. The Doric capital, with its abacus decorated with rosettes, finds close parallels in other examples made in Messapia and discovered at Ugento itself, as well as at Cavallino and Vaste, and also date to around 530 BC. The image of Zeus on a column must have been placed in a sacred precinct. There, where cult practices were performed and which served as bridgehead between the heavens and earth, the look of the Messapians of Ugento was lost in expectations of the prodigy of the divine apparition. The sacred precinct was probably positioned in the highest part of the indigenous settlement, in an area where the divinity could be admired and solemnly entreated even from a distance. The invocation, Klaohi Zeus, listen, O Zeus, incised on numerous Messapic inscriptions, must have resounded on the lips of the Messapians of Ugento in front of the bronze statue of the god.